And good evening. What a week we've had. A nice week off, so we're back. And it's February. Who thought January was the longest month ever? Do you think it dragged out?
Yeah, it seemed a long month.
I believe January dragged out.
I didn't think so. I thought that damn thing whizzed right by.
Well, anyway, welcome all. Obviously, for people that don't know, we've got Ashley. Yeah, that's right, Ashley.
Okay, Adam, let's just address, the elephant in the room at the moment. We talked about this 2 weeks ago that I was going to be back with braces, and now I am. So he's picking on me for my S's.
I'm not picking on you.
Yes, you are. Be nice, Adam.
You look fine. You look fine.
I'm getting used to my new teeth.
And how are you finding them?
It's definitely an adjustment. It hasn't been too bad. I mean, there's some things that are not very pleasant with putting metal in your mouth. It's very uncomfortable sometimes, but for the most part, I'm thoroughly waiting to see what unveils with my teeth.
How long will we have them in?
They anticipate anywhere from 19 to 24 months, so we'll see.
Oh, a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then we've got Nick. How are you?
Yes, no, I'm good. Good. Yes, ready to go. Yeah, I think January seemed a long month, but it's when it's suddenly February, it makes you realize actually the year's going quite quick, 1 month down. So yeah, all good already.
Absolutely. And welcome all anyway, especially for people in the comments. So please do hit the like, hit the subscribe, and please do share this. For people that don't know that and are new to here, us three had a chat in December, literally just after Christmas, and we decided, how can we spice things up? So we've come to an agreement that for each month, we're going to change a theme. We're going to have it themed based. So obviously, you're seeing what happened we did last month in January. And now this month, we're going to hit hard. We're going to get even brutal with this one. So it is a trigger warning. So the title is, This is Hard, Let's Talk. So the first question, and this is to everyone. This is to everyone. What made you personally interested in tonight's topic?
I think how do I want to phrase this? How easy it is to feel like you are alone, especially in the hard seasons, versus being vulnerable with people. I recently discovered this week, as a matter of fact, that when we can be vulnerable with people, whether it be on social media or whether it be in person, in relationships, when we can be vulnerable with people, it not only shows like our true humanity of who we are, but it also lets guards down where people feel safe enough that they can be vulnerable too. So that's one of the things that I think I've always aimed for social media is being authentic and being vulnerable. When shit hits the fan and I'm having a bad day, sometimes I'm going to let my audience know that. Now, it's not all the time, but sometimes they need to know that there's a real human behind the person that they see on social media. Where they aren't comparing my highlight reels to their life, right? Because there are good moments in everybody's life and we can celebrate that and whatever, but how different would it be if we came together to support when shit is hitting the fan.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's where this topic becomes very important. Like, life is hard, friends. Life gets very lifey. That's like my new phrase lately. Life is lifey. We've got
Life's a bitch.
Well, it can be. But like we have kids, right? We have kids.
Yeah.
Some people don't have kids and life is still lifey. But like when you throw kids into the mix and you throw business ownership in the mix and like financial stress and all of the things that keep compiling on top of us, it feels like a weight. And you feel like you're literally just above the water, right? Or maybe you're like here and you're trying to come up for air and you're wondering, is this ever going to end? Is it ever going to stop? Or am I constantly going to be in this state of hard, right? So that's my 2 cents.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think, life is hard. That's reality, and it's, wherever your position and whether you're even at, the people we, like you said, on social media who seem successful, or, if you're in a job business, life is hard in different ways for everyone. And I think, certainly if you look at, mental health, there's a lot less stigma than it used to be, and things are changing. But I think, there is still, and there'll always be to an extent, I think, stigma out it. And, the one thing we need to continually do and never stop doing is talking about it. And I think, talking about, actually, you said, you share a bit more, authentic stories about yourself and perhaps some of your struggles. And I think, sometimes if you see people on social media who seem to have a perfect life and they're super successful, it's hard to, I think, connect to those people. You think, well, I've got nothing in common with this person. I can't relate to them. And I think when sometimes, people on social media who are successful share, but actually, they have bad days, they have struggles, they have days when they're feeling low, feeling a bit depressed, it makes them more human. And we say, well, actually, we're all human and we all, at some level, go for the same struggles. And I think it goes back to that aspect of being authentic and owning our story. We all have our own story and unique to ourselves. And we kind of have to move to a place where we can be comfortable and sort of proud of our stories. The struggles we've gone to, where we are now, what we're going through, and it's removing that stigma, isn't it? And just being sort of, this is who I am. Yeah. This is what I'm doing. These are some of the challenges I'm going through. And
absolutely, it does. It gives that. It is about authenticity, but it's also about having the opportunity to say, "I'm vulnerable. I'm hurting, and I need help." And it's saying you need help to the right person, because if you say it to the wrong person, they could pretend to care, and then they could just stab you in the back, and then betray you and use that against you in the future. So it's about saying it to the right person. But right. And as when it comes to struggling, why do people often talk to the wrong or toxic people instead of the safe ones? And that's why I said that, what I said previously.
I think, certainly, I think asking for help is a hard thing to do. Admitting you're struggling and is a big trust thing. Yeah, and I think certainly traditionally for men, because I think there's a macho male thing of not showing feelings, perhaps more, traditionally. But I think, I guess to an extent, in answer to your question, it's who is in your who's in your network of people, who you're in your social group, and I think that bears person, but it's I guess as as we need to sort of have an awareness of, do we, who do we have in our social network, and are we sort of aware of who are the good friends and who are the people who can't be trusted. And it's not, obviously it's not always easy to tell, and I think sometimes people, like you said, they confide perhaps the wrong people, and then that can have a bad reaction that can perhaps make them more vulnerable, and then they're less likely to share. But I think it's a tricky thing. I think we need we need to try and build up people we can trust, people we can turn to, people we can, and I guess that's something we all need to do ongoing as we move through the journey of life. Find out, well, actually sometimes we need to make tough decisions about people who aren't healthy. We have a health relationship. Sometimes people who aren't giving us the right support, the right relationship. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and sometimes we need to.
Yeah.
But
it is. It is. It can be very tricky that we can pour our heart out to probably a partner or a potential partner or a friend or even a work colleague, and it's very, very tricky because it's those trust issues, isn't it? Where we say people are okay, everyone says, we're influenced to say, okay, that person's good, but they're really not. They're very manipulative.
I think it's also one of the things, expression where it takes a long time to build trust, but it can be broken very quickly. And yes. I think there's something about that, So if you build the right trust with someone, then you've got something very special, because if you built up that trust. But obviously, trust can be broken very easily. Just the simple.
Yeah. Hi Sarah, hi David. Hope you're well. What do you think, Ashley?
So I'm going to go a little bit
deeper.
Different. Well, deeper, but a little bit different on this one. Okay. So, repeat the question.
Okay. Why do people often talk to the wrong or toxic people instead of the safe ones?
Okay, so I'm going to go a little different on this, simply because oftentimes we will have conversation with the wrong people because we want them to jump in the pool with us. It's very easy to get them in the pool with us. They keep us in our victim mentality versus pushing us to grow beyond it.
Yeah.
So when you have a circle of people that are really good people, are positive, are they're there for your growth, right? Like coaches, friends that you can really trust, all the things, right? It could be in that state of mind. We don't want to hear about growth. We want to sit in our own pity party, in our own victimhood, in our own yuck, right? And they're easier to pull into that yuck versus somebody saying, why are you thinking like that? Like, seriously, get your shit together and move on, right? We don't want to hear the get your shit together and move on. We want to be like, this did this and blah, 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 right? We want to be in the pity party. So it's easier to vent, to have conversation with those that aren't going to make us grow versus the ones that will. And the ones that are going to say, enough is enough, stop playing victim, take responsibility, own your part in it, and let's go. Like, dust yourself off. And I'm not saying there isn't a place for healing and there isn't a place for, have the pity party, but don't stay there, right? And oftentimes we want to stay there because it's comfortable and it's easier. So yesterday, actually a couple days ago, I was very much triggered on a phone call, triggered into like anxiousness and like uncomfortability because somebody was challenging my knowledge, and it pissed me off. And I was thinking in my head, like, who the hell are you, my friend? Like, no, I don't think so. And it was making me very irritated and frustrated. And then I had a conversation with a coach yesterday about this particular conversation, and I think what was triggering it and where it was kind of stemming to, and did a couple exercises, and she was like, whoa, I'm going to stop you right there. She goes, your volume has increased. Your face is beet red. I can tell that there is some stuff that you've been stuffing on this particular person and this topic. And I was like, you're probably right, which is also probably a reason why my body is holding on to weight, because I could feel the anger like in my core. I was so incredibly pissed off. And she was like, I want you to do an exercise. And I said, okay. And she goes, 3 minutes. I want you to free write whatever comes out. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't judge it. Don't reread it. Just rip it out and throw it away. And I was like, okay. So instead of doing that, I went to, take care of something. And then on my way to the gym, I typically don't go to the gym. I mean, we have a membership, but I just don't go. So I work out at home. And I was like, no, I'm going to go to the gym. So on my way from one appointment, I put on some like techno, like rage type music. And I literally screamed while driving. Like, let everything out of my mouth that I could possibly think of, very inappropriate words that I won't say like most times, and I just let it out. And that probably went on for like 5 minutes. And as I'm pulling into the gym, I'm like screaming, music is blaring, all the things. And I was at the gym for probably 45 minutes. And I came home, I showered, and I was like, I feel better, right? Because one, I had somebody that was there to hold me accountable and to push me into the growth, but I clearly, over the last few years, have wanted to go into the pity party mode and the victimhood instead of dealing with the anger and all of the rage that I felt. So it really depends, like, where you sit on the pendulum. Do you want people to jump in the pool with you and to be like, yeah, she's a blah, 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 and like, almost like what's the word I'm looking for? To
reevaluate?
Well, reaffirm. That's the word I'm looking for. To like reaffirm your feelings and to say that it's justified. Sure, you can have those people, but then you also need the people to like call you out on it and be like, we need to deal with this, because this is probably a root cause as to why you're staying stuck. Loud and clear, I hear you. So you got to go with where you're at on that scale, though.
I think there's one thought was that there's a big difference between criticizing and challenging. And I think, for example, if you went to a life coach or any type of coach, they'd never criticize you, but they'd constantly challenge you. They'd ask questions to challenge your way of thinking. Are you sure that's the only way, or sure? And I think that's, a good friend would challenge you. They would support you by challenging you to take action and to think differently. But they wouldn't really criticize. I think it's a big difference. If someone criticizes you, you'll automatically get defensive. But if someone challenges you, then really it should make you think, okay, maybe there is a different way of looking at this. Maybe there is something I can do with this. And I think that's the big difference in my mind. It's challenging.
Yeah, it's like that saying, isn't it, when a child is pushed into a pool, they can't swim, so you have two choices. That person in the pool, they either sink or they learn to swim fast. And obviously you get most people trying to be paranoid and anxious, saying, "Oh, they're going to drown, they're going to drown," and then the person that pushed is very critical about this. So yeah, it is a very, very interesting. And to be honest, I was actually one of these that I least expected, because I remember taking my eldest to swimming at one point, and even though he's never been swimming before, I thought he's going to struggle here. He's probably going to have a major kickoff. I just stood there in the pool watching him, and he was climbing out, he was jumping in, he was learning to swim. Obviously, he still can't swim, but he's getting there. And I'm like, wow, I unpredicted this. But then he went, obviously he had armbands on, of course. But then when he went into the deep end, when he didn't have it on, that's when he asked for my help. He reached out, and that's when I thought, yeah. Because I expected too much. Did I expect it too much?
Well, it's the panic.
You will think you thought, like, he got to the deep end and he was in the middle of it. And I just stood there watching him, and he was trying to swim in the deep end. He really was. But then he just thought, no, he can't do it. And then when he reached out, I thought, right, let's go.
Well, and it's one of those things like, okay, I'm 5'3". So as I get like to the
look up at me then, won't you?
I'm literally tiptoeing. And as soon as like I can't touch the bottom anymore, like it almost sends sometimes me in a panic, and I can swim because your ground is not there anymore. So it's like when that disappears, it's like, oh shit, like you weren't expecting it. And then you're like, okay, sink or swim, my friend. Like you figure it out. But yes, I mean, that's the same with our kids. You know, they can touch, and then it's like, oh, like it's gone. So then it's like, it's a startling thing for them because they're not expecting it, unless you know, like, okay, I'm inching closer this way. The ground is going to be gone soon. I need to like figure out what am I going to do, type of a thing.
I think it's interesting with swimming. It's like a fear thing, like a survival thing, where a fear of like drowning. But obviously, a lot of it comes down to trust, in the person who's teaching you to swim or supporting you. You got to have a bit of confidence in your ability to be able to swim, and self-belief. It is really that. It's a lot of it is down to mindset, because
it is.
I think everyone can swim with the right support. What is a challenge is getting over that fear and that self-belief.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. Next one. Oh, this is a brilliant one. What role does pride play when someone doesn't want to open up? I see you both laughing there. But I know Kerry does have a question. So go on, Kerry. We'll go for yours first. You had a question before we're heading on.
Oh, okay. How do you deal with a partner that wants to talk but doesn't know the words to express it?
Yeah, I mean, I think communication. Communication is obviously so important, and when you hear that marriage guidance counselors, they say often a contributing factor to people ending up in divorce can be a lack of communication, where a problem rises and then they don't communicate and deal with it effectively, and it spirals. And I think communication, obviously, in relationships, any sort of relationship, is key. And that's from whether we're properly actively listening to what the other person's saying and not hearing what we think they're saying, to expressing how we truly feel. I think communication. We all talk and communicate every day, but when it really matters, do we communicate as well as we should?
Yeah, it's because there has been times when I've been in crisis and I'm struggling. Like I've told Kerry when I'm, for example, just doing that, I'm withdrawn. I'm literally withdrawn. I'm isolated, and when she wants me to talk about how I feel, I want to say it. I want to say the words are there, but they just wouldn't come out.
Well, they say, communication, I can't remember the exact proportion, but 60% of whether is not what you say, it's the way you say it, your body language. So you could say,
Yes.
I'm fine, I'm fine, but obviously
Single words, isn't it?
Down
Single
and you've got
words.
well, clearly you're not fine, are you? But you say, but I said I'm fine, so I think it's not what you say often.
It's like tonight when me and my daughter were doing the dishes, and I know she's not okay. I know she's not, and I was asking her, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." Just the single word, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are you sure?" And she went, "Yeah, I'm fine." So yeah,
but I think because the better you know someone, the better you can pick up those little signs and cues. So obviously with your partner or your children, you can, even if they don't say anything, you can often just look at them and see something not quite right. Or you could even, sometimes you can see they're happy about something, they've got some good news. But the opposite also, if they're not happy about something, you can just pick it up by looking at them often. You can see.
I literally just had an email go out on Monday that says staying fine has a cost.
I think I think it's one of those things, when people say I'm fine, I think 99% of the time there's something more going on. If you say how are you, someone, I say I'm fine or I'm okay. It's like,
yeah.
Okay, you really just fine.
Well, okay, so again, I've had this before where when you talk about the pride factor and the whole communication piece, right? Like us as women, we very much will poke, right?
Oh, yes.
And we poke because, yes, we know that you're not really fine. But it's also understanding that as men, you think very like square, box. You're box-like thinkers, and nothing can touch. So you're one box at a time. Our brain is like a plate of spaghetti. So you guys are, I've read the book, Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. And it's very, very true. So when you literally say that you're thinking about nothing, you're thinking about nothing. And man, most women wish that they had that damn box because ours is always going. And it's connected to emotion. So when you say, I'm fine, that nothing is wrong, we think, BS, you're full of crap. Because again, yes, it boils down to your body language. It boils down to your tone of voice. And we think, okay, we did something wrong. Like, what did I do? Like all the things, right? And when women say, I'm fine, there's usually like attitude with it, right? Because we're really not fine. We want you to figure out what the hell you did to piss us off. And read our minds because we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to say or have to explain ourselves as to why I'm telling you I'm fine.
Well, this is
why I'm not fine. You should know.
Well,
right. I'll tell you.
Well, this is what I said to Kerry is every time she sees me withdrawn, or I have to tell her I'm not in the right place, and she tries persisting me into talking, and I don't want to talk. It's like I want her to be there because there's a difference, isn't there? There's being there, but then there's also being there. If that and people that don't understand, it's more being there, like supporting, wanting to talk or whatever. But then there's being there and just if I need a hug, just be there. No words needed. And I'm more of like that.
Well, and that's where I was also going, is like I've learned after almost 21 years, we'll be celebrating 21 years together this Sunday. After all of that time, I've learned that when my husband says fine, I simply say bullshit, you're not fine. But if you don't want to talk about it right now, that's okay. Like, you don't have to, like, I know you're overwhelmed. Like, I've gotten so good at reading my husband that and this week especially has been a little rough for him, but I've literally, like, I'll warm up food for him or whatever it is, and I bring it to him. And then I, like, hug him, I give him a kiss, and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm giving you a kiss. Like, don't pull away from me. But it's like, I'm going to be there. And then I say to him, just cry. Like, just release the emotion. He's like, no. Because he doesn't want, it's not that he doesn't want to appear weak, but at the same time, he's like, no, because if I do, I don't know that I will stop, I think is what he's thinking in his head. Because he's so overwhelmed, and I see the burnout, and I see it in his eyes. And I call it out, and I let him know, like, I see it, and I see you. So it's being there as, like, that support system of knowing I'm here. Whether you want to talk or not, like, I'm here. So it's really tapping into that. And I think, again, yes, pride and ego can come where it's like, no, I don't want to talk about it, or like, it's none of your business, or, you know, like you become very closed shelled, and then you put walls up. Like, that's the pride and ego when you're putting the walls up versus like letting them down of, I know you're here. I know I've got shit I need to work through, but I'm not ready to talk about it right now. Or maybe it's something where instead of verbally talking about it, you're journaling or you're writing or whatever. And I get it. Like, not all men like to do that, no. Right? But for women, if you don't have the words and you just have the emotion, maybe just let the emotion out. And then it frees up the space to be able to, like, then verbally talk about it or take it to paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, Nick.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, pride, I think it can often be that people associate just being like strength. You know, if I'm proud, I won't be vulnerable, won't share this because I'm a proud person. And being proud is a positive thing. If you're proud of what you've achieved in life, you're proud of the family you've got. Being proud of positive things is a good thing. But I don't I think being I think sometimes there's a way of thinking that if I'm going to have pride in myself, it's got to be about strength and not opening up as a weakness. And I think actually, being able to open up, you should be able to be proud that you can also open up in times. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always have to be associated with strength and.
Yeah.
I liked what you said, Ashley. It's kind of, if you spot someone you know really well, and you say, "How are you?" They say, "I'm fine." Then saying, "Okay, look, I can see you're not fine, but I can also see you want some space. So if you need to talk, I'm here." I guess that's the best thing you can do.
The next one is, I think we're all guilty of this. Why is vulnerability seen as a weakness when it's actually a strength?
Because of society, because of our upbringing. Like, people...
Generational trauma again.
Yes, it can be the generational trauma, but it really is... To be vulnerable means showing sometimes the ugliest parts of you. That can be emotionally, that can be anger, like it can be so many different things, right? But when we think of vulnerability, again, we think weakness. So to be able to show emotion, we think weakness, especially for men, because you're taught, like, if you're going to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Now, have I said that to my children sometimes? Yes. When I'm really pissed off? Yes, I have. But, like, I still want my children to be able to show emotion and let them know, like, hey, it's okay if you're emotional. It's okay if you're sad. Like, but we need to make sure that we're going to direct that in the right way, right? And I'm not great at it. I'm not perfect at it. But at the end of the day, like, it's not okay to just, like, pop off and smack your brother because you're pissed off or he annoyed you, right? Like that type of a thing. So again, that vulnerability, it looks like weakness, especially if you've had a man in your life that, you know, like a father figure or whatever, that has taught you that it's not okay to be emotional.
Yeah.
And that could be for girls too. It's not just men.
No, you're right. You're right. And just a little bit off topic. Yeah, I think she has, Robert, about the, have you ever said there are starving children in Africa, you will eat what's on your plate? I think she has.
No, I haven't said that, but it's more so like, this is what I'm making, and if you don't want to eat what I'm making, you're gonna go hungry, my friend. Or like, I don't like wasting food. So, but there are times that my kids don't eat what's on their plate, and I'm just like, okay, well, you're either gonna eat it tomorrow or it's going to go to the chickens now at this point.
Well, the thing is, though, we don't say that to our kids, but we say something similar. When we make them a meal, whether it's Kerry making it or I'm making it, we basically, you'll be grateful because at the end of the day, there are kids on the street that ain't going to have a meal right now, and there's people in Africa. So be grateful that you've got food.
Well, and I like
you the other day.
Yeah. My daughter actually said that to me the other day.
Well, and the other thing too is when my kids say that they're starving, and don't get me wrong, I've said it too. I'm like, you're not starving, you're hungry. I'm like, there's kids in Africa who are starving. You're hungry, you're not starving. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, it comes down to, you know, the words that you use. But as far as, again, like showing that emotion and that vulnerability, it's seen as a weakness.
Yeah.
Because people think that you've got your life together. And if you show that you don't, it's the judgment, it's the fear of judgment and rejection is what it also boils down to.
Okay. Right. This next one is, and I think you're probably going to do this in your burnout group, Ashley, about this. How can we encourage more people to talk before things reach breaking point? You've either covered it or you probably are going to.
Well, I don't want to take the whole entire thing. I want Nick to talk too. So
I'm talking to everybody.
Yeah, I'm talking enough to you, don't worry.
But so being able to encourage people to talk, like sometimes it literally is like pulling teeth because they don't feel safe enough to do it. So you have to create a community or a space that allows them to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So like when I coach women, there are things that they will tell me that they've never said to anybody before. Because I create that environment, that safety, that there isn't judgment here. Like, I'm not going to judge you for the things that you're thinking or that you're going through, because believe me, there's enough probably dark shit that goes on in my brain that if I said it out loud, people would be like, are you sure you shouldn't be in prison? But no, like in all seriousness, it's creating that that environment for people to let their guard down. And when somebody, especially like myself as a coach, can bring my own vulnerability and my own relatability, again, that creates the environment for them to be like, man, she's been through some shit. And if she's been through some of it, like, it's okay for me to share the things that I'm going through, or like whatever. So that's how you get people to talk, to open up. It's being willing to listen, and it's being, again, that safe space, if you will, for them to do it without judgment and without like finger pointing, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you get people to open up. But sometimes it takes time. Like, sometimes it's very surface level conversation. And then you dig a little deeper depending on what they tell you. Then you can formulate questions based off of what they say to get deeper into the conversation and really get to the root. But sometimes it takes a while to get there.
Yeah. I think following what Ash said, I think there's two aspects. I think it's finding the right safe place for you to open up and share. Like Ashley said, and that can vary per person. I mean, one example, in the UK, there's a man's support group called Andy's Man's Club, and it's just for men, and they just share whatever stresses or problems they're going through, and everyone listens, no judgments, just confidential, just they get up and share, and the problems all vary from relationships to work to whatever, and they can't talk about their friends, they struggle to talk about their partner or whoever, so they come to this group of strangers, or I guess get to know each other, just so they can just share. Literally just share, and be listened to. So I think finding, the right group where you can be comfortable and you can share without judgment, and that can vary from person to person what their right group is. But also, I think another aspect is someone's helping people understand, what will happen if you don't, sometimes if you don't change the way things are, and that can include opening up. So, one technique of sort of my coaching is, saying, well, if you don't speak to your partner about this, what do you think will be the result, or what do you think do you think anything will change if you don't speak to your partner? It's almost getting them to see, well, nothing will change if nothing changes, and if you want to. If you want things to improve, sometimes you got to open up and you got to share, and by sometimes it's people seeing, the consequences of not taking action or not sharing. That can sort of be the thing, the catalyst to open their eyes about. Well, actually, you're right. If I don't talk about this, if I don't be honest about this, if I don't talk to people about this, then I'm just going to carry on, feeling this way and not moving forward.
Absolutely, yeah. So. Stick with the question. What encouraged or inspired you to reach out when you both were struggling? And this is people in comments as well. What inspired you to reach out and say, I need help? I don't think you've ever had that one before, have you?
Well, I mean, for me, it goes back to when I was sick. And it's not that I reached out for help right away. I think it ultimately came down to the decision I made to join a direct sales company. And then making that decision put me in a circle of women that poured into me and encouraged me and did the things that I needed, right? But before that had happened, like, I knew my marriage was on the rocks after I was sick. And it had been for a while. And I was like, okay, there's something not right here. And for me, it was reaching out to a pastor that had done marriage counseling for us years prior. And I was like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. And like talking that out, and he very much said to me, because I had this type of relationship with him, he very much said to me, Ashley, he's like, why are you still married? And I could not answer the question. And I was like, well, because I love him and we've got kids together, right? And he was like, well, that's not enough. That's not a good enough reason. And he really challenged my thinking in it. And he's like, not only that, he's like, but your worth does not come from your husband. And I was like, ooh, like that's kind of gross. But it was enough that it was like a light bulb moment for me where I was like, screw it. You know, I'm sick and tired of living this way and living in the dumps and the hell that our marriage is going through right now. I'm done. So it was enough that it pulled me out to dig deeper into my faith. I joined the direct sales company. I had women pouring into me, and I had something for me. And that's what I needed. And then it led me to a mindset coach that I worked with for a while, which then led me to another coach that I still work with to this day. And like it led me in different places to be able to pull me out of like, I need people that are going to pour into me, that are going to uplift me. And also like, I see potential in you. I see where you're going. And honestly, if that one mindset coach wouldn't have led to the next mindset coach, I wouldn't be on this podcast today. I wouldn't be speaking on stages like I do today because she saw something in me that like she kept lighting the wick underneath and pulling it out of me of like, there's greatness in you. I see it, but now I need you to see it. So that's just how it is. Like if I wouldn't have done what I did, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah, for me, I think we have. I had a, you know, we all got a point where you think, I don't know, like sort of like a rock bottom point. And I think for me, when COVID happened and I split up my partner and things escalated, and I sort of ended up being homeless, and I think it got I had that pride where I thought, no, I can get back on top, I can get back on top, I can get back on top before really anyone knows what's happened. I don't really need to tell anyone. And I think there's definitely a lot of pride there. But then it got to a point where I thought, no, I think part of it is I think I've worked for a lot of charities before in my career, and I'd worked for homeless charities. I've worked alongside seeing people, and I was getting to that point where I thought, no, if I don't get some support and help, if I don't speak to someone, things are going to escalate. And I had that moment where I thought I've got to do something, or things are going to carry on spiraling. And I had that moment where realization, if I don't do something now, it's going to carry on getting worse. Mm-hmm. And so I spoke, to some close friends and got that, and turned things around just by having that support of, close friends who I could stay in their sofa for a while and in the spare bedroom, another one, and turn things around step by step. And then a big thing for me was, I joined Toastmasters, which, and I'd be able to share my story and, people listening and wanting to know was a really new thing for me. And I think that turned it from something I was almost embarrassed about and my situation, what happened, being able to sort of then move forward, knowing that one, I had the support, but also here's the opportunity to use it to move forward, to grow, So it's that moment, that sort of flashback moment of, this is bad, but it could get a lot worse if I don't actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So next one, and I think we haven't covered it yet, but obviously there's a lot of people who, and obviously I did say at the start it's a trigger warning, so people want to self-harm or turn to like alcohol, drugs, or even possibly do the worst, and that's attempt suicide, or even have those thoughts. So what feedback would you give them before that happens, when they're going through that emotion?
I think when you're in that moment, your view of reality, can be all absorbed into the one thing that is, the challenges or trauma you're going through, and that's all you can see. You get overwhelmed with this, and you can't see a way out because all you're seeing is this. And I think that it's just speaking to anyone just to get you out of that overwhelm of I think that you hear the expression like a dark somebody have like a dark cloud, and all they can feel is heavy. They can't think clearly because they've got this overwhelming heaviness of the challenge they're going through, and they can't see clearly. They're just, and I think it's just it just starts with any conversation just to get you out of that way of thinking, and it's only by talking to someone else, almost anyone else, because when you're looking inward, all you see is inward, and obviously you just got your own thoughts, and a lot of the time those thoughts will reinforce the negative thoughts you're having, and it builds. So as it goes back to just, you've got to reach out to someone, anyone, and just start talking about it. And you just have even just one conversation with someone. And there's so many. I think the thing is, it's hardest talking to people we know when we're going through things like that. But that's that's when there's these a lot of these groups like the Andy's Man's Club in the UK. It's anonymous in the sense you can go there and it's totally confidential. It's totally, and I think it's just finding that someone, or even if it's on a telephone helpline, just start having a conversation with anyone.
Ursula?
I think like Nick said, like just having the conversation, but it's also, it goes back to even what I said before, as far as like on the whole pride and ego topic. Like if you're not ready to talk, that's fine, but let people know, like, I'm here. My door's open. My ears are open. Like, if you just need a hug or whatever, like, just being present, I think, is or can be a game changer. And if you can hear my kids screaming in the back, sorry. But like just being present and letting people know that you're there, that can make a difference. But again, it's also having the conversation, because when that dark cloud is like over people, talking at them, it just makes it worse.
Yeah.
And like I've had conversation, like I've had people in my life that even when I was in high school, I had people in my life that committed suicide. I had an ex-boyfriend that would sometimes message me and be like, I'm just going to jump off the roof. Like, I'm going to kill myself. And like, I'm literally having conversation of like, you're loved and blah, blah, blah. All of this, even in high school as a teenager, like that is a lot of weight for a teenager to carry, of trying to be there for somebody who feels like there's no other way out, right? I've watched it between my husband and his biological mom. I mean, even when we were in high school, and how many times like we could be walking through a store and she would call him drunk and be like, I'm going to kill myself. And he's literally trying to talk her out of whatever on the phone. And I'm just like, oh my God, I am marrying into so much dysfunction, right? But that didn't make me love him any less, because he was there for her in the moments that she needed him. And it even came down to sometimes, like, she would call me and, like, all the things. And she did the self.
That was nice, wasn't it?
And she did the self-harming and all of that stuff, right? But when that cloud is over somebody, I think a lot of times they just want to be heard. They want people to listen. Whether or not you have something to offer, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, people just want people to be present in their life, especially if they're lonely or they're feeling like the weight of the world and all of the things that they are carrying. And again, it goes back to having the conversations. Like, if you're hiding your vulnerability and your pain and people don't know it, and then all of a sudden we see your obituary because you decided to take your own life, like, there are options. But again, you have to surrender to the pride and the ego and be willing to be vulnerable with people.
And the fear.
Well, it is that too. Because, like, there are people that are out there that are willing to listen.
Yes.
But again, like you said, Adam, it's getting rid of the fear of the judgment and whatever. Like, if you're in the pit of the pit, those of us that are on, like, the three of us, like, our messenger is open on Facebook, right? Yeah. But, like, it's knowing that you have people to reach out to and you have people that can support you along the way. You just have to be willing to, like, hey, ask for the help. I'm struggling. And I think that's what stops us. We don't want to ask for the help. We don't want to say I'm struggling because we're afraid of the weakness. We're afraid of the rejection and the judgment. Mm-hmm. That's what it boils down to.
It does.
I think, yeah, the help comes second. I think, yeah, the first comes listening. And I think, first of all, people aren't looking for, like, answers, advice. They just start, like you said, they just want someone to listen. And then later on, once people are listening, then they can get the right advice or support in that way. I think, like, in society at the moment, like, loneliness is a massive, on the increase. And I think when we're going through that, real despair situation, we can feel quite lonely. And I think it's doing anything where you can have a connection, whether it's speaking to someone or being around people. Because I think just sometimes being around people, being in some sort of social situation, even if you're just being around people, can help get you out. So I think it's
absolutely right. A little bit of fun. Pick a number between 1 and 10.
8.
8. All right. So your question is, what does hope look like to you? And that's your closing question.
What does hope look like to me?
Yes.
Honestly, like, hope is, like, knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There really is. Like, not that life isn't always doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, with a little bit of faith, like, it could be the tiniest speck of dust of, like, I know that this is going to end, that this isn't going to be forever, that it's a season, that there's a reason for the season, that there is a lesson. And like, that to me is hope. Like, knowing, especially, oh my God, that dog. Anyway.
Up to an hour as well.
Oh, but also, like, Now I completely forgot what the hell I was saying because the stupid thing started barking.
You mentioned about light end of the tunnel.
It's completely gone, friends.
Right, okay. We'll come back to you, Ashley. Right, go on, Nick. Pick a number, but you can't choose 8.
Okay, 3.
3, okay. Oh, what's one small step someone can take today to start opening up?
One small step someone could take to opening up.
Yes.
I think it could be, looking at, what, I suppose looking at, who do you know who you can talk to. I think everyone knows someone, whether it's a stranger in a sense, whether it's someone, a friend, and is, because sometimes, saying, might have a lot of things going on and saying everything is too daunting. But what, if you can share one thing with one person, I think that is the most important step. You may think, oh, I've got so much going on, I'm overwhelmed, where do I start? And you don't want to overload on someone. But if you can think of one person you can trust, where you can share one thing, just one small thing, then I think that is where you start the journey. That's where it all starts now. One thing, one person.
Absolutely. Ashley, has anything come to you?
No.
No. You know what? I'll choose one then. I'll choose one from me. What's one thing you want viewers to remember after tonight's stream? That you're not alone. You're not alone. And as Ashley said, our messenger or email is open 24/7. Yeah, when Ashley's not working, like out and about, or being a mom or a teacher, she's literally glued to a phone or computer.
He's not wrong about that, friends. He's not wrong about
she
that.
is. But yeah, we're always here for you, and definitely, Robert. Remember the laughter, yeah, because mental health, we can have as dark and sinister as it can be, we can have fun with it as well. Because end of the day, just look, us 3 have attempted the worst as well. We've had those thoughts. We probably self-harmed through tattoos or alcohol or whatever. But look, we're still here. We are still here. And you're right, Yvonne. Some people listen to reply, but true people listen to understand. I absolutely love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And on that note, that's the wrap. So we will let you go. We are not here next week. So
we are next week. The week after.
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're here next week. Just me and Ashley. Is it?
They're all 3, I think, next week.
All
3 next week. All 3 next week as we begin to navigate burnout. So if you think Ashley's been ranting tonight, wait till next week. So
this was my choice, friends. This one was my choice as far as this topic.
It is. So on that note, please do like, please do subscribe, please do share. I'll be uploading clips absolutely everywhere over the weekend, if not tomorrow. And have a good one.